blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. I'm your co-host, Dawn Light, with my beautiful sister here, Trish Wright. And we are the Self-Love Show team. And we're tuning in live for you every week. And for those that are new, welcome. And for those that join us weekly, we're so grateful to have you and host you and to do this beautiful work around self-love. And so today we have an amazing guest. Oh, before I introduce our guest, I want to just remind you to go take a gander and a peep at our YouTube channel and all the podcast platforms. We live there too. And so we have more than 3 years worth of content by now. And it's so juicy because it supports you in up-leveling your self-love. And the more we like, share, and subscribe, we get the word out about self-love to everyone because it comes in all shapes and sizes. And there's all kinds of spiritual curriculum taking place on this earth. And it's important to really lean into loving ourselves more and more and more and having better relationships. And so that's our mission here, is to support you in self-love and having the best relationships possible. And so thank you for hearing that. And today we have an amazing guest. Love her so much. This is a sister friend. Molly Mandelberg is here with us, and she's here to talk about creative expression as self-love. And so before we jump into conversation, I'm going to read your beautiful intro. So allowing your creativity to come through you, whether through art, movement, or entrepreneurial endeavors, feeds you with energy. There are plenty of ways this creative energy gets stopped up or throttled, and there are also ways to grant yourself permission, unleash the flow state, and revel in the joy of your creativity expressed. Ooh, juicy. Yes. Join us for this week's episode, The Self-Love Show, with Molly, right? And so Molly is the founder of Wild Hearts Rise Up, creator of Magnetic Influencer Collective, and also the writer and illustrator of the Wild Hearts Rise Up Oracle deck. She is the host of both Tactical Magic podcast and Reveal the Game of Life podcast, as well as best-selling author. After spending years mastering content creation and online marketing, Molly finds her bliss in bridging the worlds of heart-centered healing and transformation with the practical business strategies of leveraging a message into a global movement. She is certified NLP coach, an Access Consciousness bars facilitator, a transformational leadership coach, and a full-time nomad. How cool is that? Molly works with coaches, healers, and conscious leaders to broadcast their messages with ease so they can reach more people and make more money with less time spent. She travels the world full-time and runs her six-figure business out of her self-converted Sprinter van tiny home. Molly loves helping her clients to systemize their work and master the magnetics of marketing so they can experience more freedom and make an even bigger impact and difference. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome. We're so excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of you know, and maybe some of you don't know, but Molly has helped me really step into my coaching practice. You were one of the foundational pieces of really helping me refine my website and talk me through what is it that I do offer. Many conversations that we had to I don't know how to put this into words, but can I interpretive dance it out for you?
Yes, I speak in
you're
Molly has also helped me also with my website and my copy and helping me understand how to deliver it out. So this is a special day to celebrate you, Molly, and thank you for how pivotal you've been in both of our lives. And so we're just hugging you and thanking you and letting the world know how amazing you are at what you do. Truly.
Yeah, it's a huge gift and pleasure to get to support people like both of you and the clients that I work with who are on a mission to change the world, who want to really make a bigger difference, who want to support human beings to navigate the challenges of their lives with more ease and grace and joy, and to get to amplify that mission for different people is like such a treat. It feels like a huge ripple effect that I get to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
What? So I think that one of the biggest challenges that most of us, regardless of whether you have your own business or you're just, like the 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 person who's like taking their kids to school or just anybody really is speaking about yourself or being creative when the grind's got you. Do you have anything to like give
Yeah.
those people?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things I would say to that. First off, the grind gets you sometimes. And I think that's
Hmm.
sort of inevitable. The reality we live in is unfortunately kind of based on hustle culture and capitalism, and that we think we need to push and force it to either get ahead or just get by. And so one of the things I think is really important is to figure out what part of that is actually your desire, what part of that actually belongs to you, and get clear on if you're just enrolled in what you think you should be doing, or if you're tapped into what you truly desire to be like creating or showing up for. So that distinction, I think, is a really great place to start. Am I doing this because I think I have to, or am I doing this because I'm inspired to, or it feels good to do it, or be it, or become it, or step into it? So that's one thing. Another thing is there's a cycle of creativity. I talk about this. I've had an episode on my podcast, Tactical Magic, about this. I also have it in a blog post. I also preach it to pretty much every client that I work with, which is there's 3 phases of the creative cycle. One is Brahma, which is a lightning strike of creativity. That's where you're like flooded with ideas and inspiration. You want to work on this thing and that thing and that thing. And it's like everything is alive and turned on. And Brahma is followed by Vishnu. Vishnu is where we're sort of plugging along towards the end goal. We still know what we're working on. We're moving towards it. We're making stuff happen. But we're not super lit up and in that like super enlivened place anymore. That's where we spend most of our time is in Vishnu. And Vishnu is followed by Shiva. And if you know anything about Shiva, it's like the god of chaos and destruction and like nothingness. So Shiva is where we have a reset experience. Sometimes it looks like couch potato, can't do anything. Sometimes it's read as depression because this society tells us we have to be productive in order to be worthy. But Shiva is the reset that allows us to get back to the insight and inspiration and like divine downloads of Brahma. And we are taught to shame Shiva. We are taught to avoid it. We are taught that we're wrong and we're bad if we're in it. And so I think a really big place of permission for people moving forward in their lives is recognizing sometimes there's a down. Sometimes there's a pause. And if you can allow for that pause, if you can give yourself permission to pause, then new ideas can come to you. New opportunities can be like trickle into your awareness because you're no longer in this like push, 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 or hate yourself if you're not pushing. When we get those like judgment, emotions, stuff out of the way, then there's more allowance. And in allowance and in that Shiva allowance, there can be new light, new projects, new stuff can come to you. But we have to allow for it. And Shiva can take a different amount of time for different people. Sometimes it's an hour or two. Sometimes it's a year. Like that pause is going to be different. And depending on what we've been doing, it's going to be different for every person and different every time. But that's one of the main things I would, to answer your question, is encourage people to find more permission for themselves and give space for the pause, knowing that the pause will lead to a new idea or a new opportunity or a new insight that sparks that light in you again.
Mm-hmm. Gorgeous. I love that you referred to it as Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, or Vishnu, Shiva. And we spend most of our time in Vishnu, which makes sense. That's the tactical, hands-on doing. I find myself, that's so relatable where I'm at, and I have been in those Shiva times myself. And it's really relatable to my own client process. When I'm sharing with clients, I actually say the seasons. I'm like, are you in a summer season or are you in a winter season? And sometimes the winter season can go much longer than we ever think, and people often can get caught when they have like when it rains it pours kind of concept in their life, and they think they're going to stay there forever. And it's like, no, spirit is like cleaning out the closets of your life so that you can make room for the spring.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
it's a very similar structure and concept. And
Yeah.
I love
Natural
that.
too.
Yeah, it's so
And
natural.
the phases of the moon, the seasons of the planet, like
Mhm.
it's bred into us like on a cellular level that there is a time for pause and regeneration. And
Absolutely. And
yes,
and to honor it.
yeah,
It's sacred.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like mulching the old things that no longer work in your practices, in your business, in your life, like what's not serving you anymore. And it's safe. Give yourself permission to see it, love it, let it go,
Yeah.
and make space for what's ready.
I love that we're having this conversation on like a new moon also, because it's like, yeah,
Totally.
fresh beginnings. What else is
Yeah.
possible now?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it's such a magical time right now. The Lionsgate portal and like all, it's so powerful time right now. It seems one of my friends just had a baby in this time, like born on Lionsgate. I was like, wow, what an auspicious birth.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me more about, what your juicy topic is about, creative expression and self-love. Tell me what you feel that is for you. And
Yeah, I'm a maker of things. I, like you mentioned in my way probably too long introduction bio, I make a lot of things. I have 2 podcasts. I've published 2 books. I'm an artist. I built a house in a van that I travel in. I travel full time. I serve my clients in like a variety of ways, group programs, memberships, one-on-one services, all kinds of different things. And yeah, I also, like I said, make art and write and build things. And to do that, I have to take really good care of myself. But also in doing that, I find so much self-love is the easy way to say it, but it's like um, resilience. It's tending to my heart. It's uh, channel of light that gets poured through me. There's something that happens when we follow through with a creative project, or we even just play in the creative space in some way. It doesn't matter what your medium is. It could be dance, it could be business, it could be writing, it could be art, it could be anything. But there's something that happens when we allow space for that creative energy and we do the thing or become the thing, that we're basically like flowing light through us. And when we do that, when we allow creativity to be expressed, it fills us up with that light. And so
Mhm.
there's this pleasure feeling. I know sometimes it can be, you hate your painting so much that it's really like a sad thing or a anxious thing. That can happen too, of course, when there's judgment involved. But when we just free up the like floodgates of creative energy, it is a cup filling experience. And so what is self-love if not a way to fill your own cup? So when you invited me to come be on the show and asked, what would you want to maybe bring to the table? That's like the core of the message is, where have you maybe stifled or convinced yourself that your creativity is not good enough, or you don't know how to use it, or you don't have time for it? And where would you be willing to start looking at, how can I bring more creativity into my life? Would that look like an adult coloring book on the kitchen table? Would that look like, going to some retreat or workshop that is in alignment with the kind of creative expression that you want to be bringing forward? Would it look
Mhm.
like just getting curious of like, what is a medium that feels creative to me that I'd like to maybe do a little research on, or watch a couple videos on, or play with in some way? Like I made a video this week of me fixing the solar panels on my roof. And a bunch of people were like, how did you learn how to do that? And I'm like, I don't remember how I learned. I think I watched a YouTube video or asked my dad how I connect the wire to something. And then it became a thing I could do. And then it became this really fun thing that even when something's going wrong, like my solar was broken, that I got to have this playful, fun experience of figuring out, how do I fix it? What's the problem? What pieces do I need to go get so I can put it together? And then I get to go put it together. And how fun is that, to have this satisfying experience of fixing a broken thing, which is totally a way of expressing creativity. But yeah, so your creative expression is a way to funnel light through you, and pouring light through you and allowing it to be expressed and moved. It's such a gift to your being that it's absolutely a form of self-love. Yeah.
That's just beautiful the way you bring that forward. It is so true. It's like letting go of the judgment of how you perceive your creative energy, because I can use me as an example. You know, right now I'm in a very busy, productive time. I've had the most busiest summer I've ever had, really, and it's great. And I'm also launching my program, and I'm in the middle of, I'm going to do a launch before Burning Man and another, challenge after. And so it's this big stretching. I also facilitated my first medicine circle like ever in my life this month. So it's like a big stretching capacity going on. And so my actual like creative energy is being funneled in these ways, and when I get on and write emails, and when I get on and like work on my business on the back end, that's where my creative energy is going. And it's also being with my family, and prepping for Burning Man is also a creative endeavor, and and I'm going to get to go and express my creative artistic self in dance and movement and play, which is exciting. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to just allow more creative unleashment going on in my world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had to get out of that judgment of thinking that I'm not creative because I'm not painting or doing art.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that you touched on that point of the judgment has to go away. A lot of what I see with entrepreneurs and coaches and healers is there's so much judgment about, how do I do it right? Or how do I make it perfect? Or I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I don't want to be seen as whatever and get judged for what I'm putting out there, that it like throttles that permission, because we have this perceived judgment or this expectation of judgment, or we're judging ourselves. And so figuring out how to sort of unlock that, or clear it from your system, is where that permission comes in. And then you get to have those experiences where I'm so busy, but your busyness of the many like creative things that you're doing is not draining you, because every single one of them is being that channel of light to come through. It's being part of the circuit of universal energy to like network around the planet. And that's a really fun and like exciting thing to be in, even if it looks like doing a lot of things.
And for me, it's giving wild permission to just be messy. I don't have to do it perfect. Like, I make mistakes. I make typing mistakes, like spelling mistakes, even like, I can't find things in my really organized system. Sometimes I over organized and it's like, where did I put it?
Yeah.
Just giving an example of what it's like to be an entrepreneur on the back end, and how giving yourself, because I used to hold myself back around needing to be perfect and afraid of being seen and afraid of being like, oh, what if I just had a lot of fear there in the beginning of my business. And you're speaking to that, and I can speak to it too. It's like just getting out of your way. And my husband even made a comment the other day. I made a bunch of videos in a row and recorded them so they could do my lives, because I've been really full. And I'm like, how do I get creative to still meet this need? And he was like, wow, you like just did one after the other and didn't do a re-record. I was like, nope, I'm committed to, like, however it comes out is exactly what I'm giving.
Yeah.
And that is so freeing to allow myself to have that permission.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes a practice sometimes too, to like build that muscle of, I'm doing this. This was good enough. We're going on to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been building over the few years. So I feel like I can do that now, but it took a while. Like, it wasn't like this didn't come by just second nature. It's because I've been putting in the grit and the effort and the love, self-love to myself to do it consistently.
Yeah. Totally.
So
One of the things I love that we're bringing in, or that you're bringing in, is really taking a step back from sort of the tenets of white supremacy, or the tenets of the patriarchal oppressive belief systems around perfectionism, around productivity is our worth, is these things, and moving at the pace of your creativity. Like, I don't know about you, but does anybody ever just watch what's going on in the world? Like maybe some of the other coaches, like high-powered coaches that you see online, some of them like burn out because they're pushing too hard, and they're not living in their creativity. Like Molly was saying, it's like there's this way of doing business that we've learned for a zillion years. It is the way that you read in on all of the books, and it is a very, very specific type of energy that doesn't stop. It's always consuming, and it's ever hungry. But it also wears the mind and the body down, and the spirit, right? So when you get to like sit in and be like, well, I am going to spell where wrong, or I am going, that's just going to be the thing. You're going to look at your live and your story and be like, well, darn it, I'm human. I'm going to lay here for the next, have this depressive moment, or whatever that you were saying, is like to have these moments where you just need rest, where you need to restore, or go have fun, or go let loose, so that you can come back to the creativity. You can find that inspiration, right? And I think that it also comes off like when we're just authentically ourselves, it just comes off more relatable.
Yeah, way more
absolutely.
engaging.
One of my favorite and most viewed stories was me making this thing called a banana boat. So my mom has celiac disease, and I just stopped eating bread in what is it called when you do something with someone? And I was like, I'm just going to stop eating bread. So I make these like little cuts in a banana to like put peanut butter in this banana boat, so that it's like, and it's one of my most viewed, and it was just like spontaneous. Was it perfect? No. Was the phone like hanging on a shelf and it kind of looked all funky? And yes, but because it was inspired and real, people liked that, and I liked that because it felt connected to something that meant something to me, right? So I love that, Dawn. I see you working out the very masculine approach and really showing up for your work. And Molly, I love that this is you really loved me here. Like that was love. I was like, oh, you really love me here. I was like, yeah. So what happens if you make a mistake? Good question.
Mm-hmm.
I look like a human.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have so many like ingrained points of view about what happens if we make a mistake, that we'll be judged, we'll be ostracized, we'll be cast out of society, we'll be burned at the stake. Like there are a lot of rational and also irrational points of view that are in there somewhere. And so one of the things I definitely talk about a lot is that being an entrepreneur, especially, is deep inner work. And if you don't do it, you'll burn out and it will not be fun. And if you do it, you're going to discover there's a lot of parts of you in there that want to be moved and rearranged. And that self-judgment part, that permission part, is like a huge piece of it, especially if you're someone who's going to have to do any kind of marketing where you're selling yourself, so to speak. You're going to come up against your shit. And that's a really beautiful opportunity to look at it. And it's the same shit that an entrepreneur is facing is very similar to the shit that an artist has to face to be willing to create and to be willing to share what they create.
Business is a pathway to awaken. Relationships is a pathway to awaken.
It really is.
Last night on Awakening World, we were having a conversation about unity and cancel culture. And sort of this conversation, someone brought up a bit about, well, what is the term? It's like soul. It was like a soul contracts. It's like, oh, well, I have a soul contract with this person. And I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, there are 8 point something, 8 8.25 billion people on this planet. And I think that I have a soul contract with all of them. We're all here. I even have soul contracts from people who don't even exist right now because they transitioned off this planet. And I was just thinking about that as a part of my business, as a part of the who I am or who we are. Like, and let me ask you a question, just kind of thinking about it. Is your business separate from who you are?
I think it's really powerful to see your business as its own entity that you get to co-create with, rather than, especially as a solopreneur too, where it's very easy to misidentify and misapply your business as you or you as your business, that then it becomes a lot of pressure on you to do it and create it. But seeing your business as its own entity, then yeah, of course you wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for the soul contract you have with that entity of your business, where you're like, okay, we're going to go to the planet and we're going to make some shit happen. And it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes. It's going to be glorious sometimes. Let's go do this and see what happens.
And thinking about it like that, it really gives you an opportunity to see it as like the relationship. So I see relationships, all two people relationships as a triangle. So there's me and the person. And then there's the relationship. And so it's like me and the relationship to business, to my business, as a loving, communicative. This side is you gotta attune to it because it has its own movements. It's kind of like a cat. It doesn't speak to you, but it can. And then there's how we are relating to the relationship itself as both entities. I love this. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And it's a nice lens to see it through, because that means that you're not, number one, you're not alone in this. If you are a solopreneur, that you're actually have a teammate and it is your business. And number two, it's that you get to decide how you create that relationship. Do you want to be resentful of your business not making enough money, or do you want to see how you could support it better and see what happens from there?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a different way of viewing it.
A loving way, a more collaborative.
Yeah. And compassionate. Hey, we tried that and it didn't work. Okay, well, I'm not going to make you wrong for that. Let's see what we can try next.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful, beautiful way of seeing it.
Yeah.
I have a question about how long should one person stick with a strategy? Like, when is it? Because it's always like, is it working? Is it kind of working? Will it work later?
How do you tell if it's working?
Yeah. Figuring out how to tell if it's working in the first place is probably a good place to start. There's no solid or concrete answer to that. The answer is really, are you thinking about quitting it because it's uncomfortable and that you're like annoyed with how slow it's moving, if it's moving slow, or are you actually being guided and led into a new direction? So that takes, I think, some self-awareness to sort of discern the difference between, am I hopping ship or am I being led to something different? But I will say my first couple years in business, I was a quote unquote niche switcher, and I would change the entire focus of who I was serving and how I was helping them. It happened like 4 times in the first year and a half of my business. And every time I would change my niche, I would just attack it. I would go full steam in that direction until I felt the dissonance in the direction I was moving. And that was an inner part of me saying, something about this is just not right. Not that I'm failing because it's not working, but it doesn't feel like the path I want to be on. That's the time to move. When you feel that honest dissonance with what you're trying to create, where you're trying to get to, or what you're focusing on right now, if there's honest dissonance, bail. Absolutely bail. Don't do something that isn't full alignment and enthusiastic like place for you to be creating. That's okay. And you can also come back to it later. If it's something that was just not for right now, it will tap you on the shoulder again and say, hey, I want your attention. Cultivating that inner listening, honoring that inner listening makes it louder. that is a practice, of course, a self-love practice that will serve you in every aspect of your life. There is some part of you that knows which way to turn, that knows what to focus on. And learning to listen to that and trust that and act upon it is like the biggest game you can play, I think.
I love that.
You're so speaking my language right now. Like, I literally last year, after I launched my program and completed it, I had, just as there's a wild expansion, there's also the contraction that you need to go through. And I think I had spent so much time visualizing, conceptualizing, pouring love into it. It was a long sacred yes project for me to birth the program that I created. And yes, I worked on it diligently for the last year and a half to birth it, but it actually was a 6-year project, truly. And through like graduate school and then it not working out the first time I tried to launch something to so it was a long standing thing. But then after I actually led the 17 women, well, really 9 total, but it was 17 in the beginning. But after I led those women through that container, and it was wildly successful on all those fronts, like really, truly, it was an amazing experience. But afterwards, my part of me was like, go ahead, launch again. And then I was like, I heard this like, be still, sit, be still. And I was like, wait a minute, that is the opposite of like what my pocketbook wants, right? Like, oh, okay. And I had to really lean in and give myself permission to do that. And I was in this Shiva kind of mulching stage in a way. And it actually, it took me a year. And it's the craziest thing. I didn't even realize this. But when I sat down to do my challenge, I put it on the calendar. And when I realized, I was like, oh my God, I picked the exact dates, exact as the year before without knowing it. And that was like so spot on about listening to my intuition, and that I'm led by my intuitive process inwardly about my business, even though it's perceived as much slower this last year than I would have wanted in a way. But I actually, like, the momentum came back, and I actually heard Spirit's voice say, get back to it now. After the winter and the spring, and I moved and many things took place.
Yeah.
And that's just me allowing my intuition to lead instead of like being this pushing, driven. And now there's momentum, energy behind it.
That's the thing, is when we're pushing through the time we need to pause and we're forcing it, it doesn't have the same magnetism as when we're allowing space for that intuitive hit to say now or to say this. And when it says now and this, and then you act upon it, it's like this magnetic field is created that draws people to it, that draws you to it in a way that's not like fabricatable.
There's a couple things. Okay. Oh,
what did you say?
I was gonna say there's like a couple things. So I have my team. So I'll just share a little. My team, Roy and Russell, are like, they've been waiting for me to do these things, and I'm like, it's not quite right yet. Like, I don't feel inspired to get on video. And I know what that looks like because I've watched the videos that I'm not inspired. It's got to really come from, and there's a point of being like resistant, like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then there's the point where it's like, oh my God, I'm on fire, let's do it. And it always shows up in the world different when I'm actually doing it from my inspired action. You know, one of the things early in the pandemic, the little, like, I come up with little sayings that really help me out. And one of the things was, inspired loving is inspired living. And so inspired living is inspired loving. And so it's like, I just want to mention that it's an incredible privilege to have a business and that you're running yourself, but it's also an incredible privilege to think the way that I'm thinking. It's like to live from inspiration, to love from inspiration, because there are many people in the world that do not get the opportunity to have enough spaciousness in their life to afford rest, inspiration, authentic expression. So I just want to say, just name that. And if you do have any space to really allow yourself to rest and wait for the inspiration.
Yeah.
Mm.
And do
Definitely.
something that lights you on fire, right?
Ideally, yeah. Do something you actually want to be doing. Yeah.
What's the
Again, a huge privilege, but that takes some curiosity to figure out too.
And it takes bravery and honesty to choose yourself, that no matter what your circumstances are, that you can choose yourself to create that in your life. That just because you might have a 9 to 5 that takes a lot of your time doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to choose spaciousness. It starts here. It starts here inwardly, and then it arrives outwardly in your world if you give yourself permission to lean into it. How can I have more of it? How can I create it? It's a creative process and thinking in your mind
Yeah.
and in your heart.
Yeah. My co-host Chris Tomaso and I on the Reveal the Game of Life podcast did an episode called, I think, Service or Servitude. And we talked a lot about that. Like, you could be waiting tables or you could be an entrepreneur, but either way, no matter what set or setting you're in, you have the opportunity to bring presence, to bring alignment, to bring, consciousness into that space. And that can alter your experience of the job you're doing, no matter what it is that you're doing. So being willing to, show up for you in a way, or invite yourself to be that space wherever you are, whatever you're doing, can be really a powerful choice.
Mm.
Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to say too about the way that you function, because there's, so much more awareness around ADHD and like being on, functional, whatever, being on the spectrum or neurodivergency or whatever. There's a lot of different ways that our brains function. So if you're watching a show like this, or you're, digesting content from some expert or creator out there, remember that you may function differently than other people, and that the person giving you advice or inspiring you to act may function very differently. And I know that I do. I know some people, it works better to focus on one thing at a time and give that one thing all of your attention and make that your main focus until you find a place of completion or a pause or whatever. For me, I will dally like a mofo if I only have one thing on my plate. I will avoid it. I will push it away. If I have 12 or 13 projects going, I'm like the maestro of creation. If
Wow.
I am feeling uninspired, I add more projects to my plate so that all of them get kickstarted into gear. This doesn't always work if I'm in Shiva, of course. There's still a pause sometimes where I need a fucking break. Excuse my French. I don't know if can I swear on your show? We're on social media, so great. That I add more. So when it's like I'm, overwhelmed with the amount of work that I have to be doing, and then I finish for the day, I'm like going to the store to buy ice to make a batch of tie-dye. Like, I want to add another thing, or, spend a few minutes working on the outline for my next book or something. Like, for me, I feel so much more energized and enlivened when I have my hand in a lot of different pots and I'm like making them all happen at once. And some people, that would wear them out so fast. And so the important thing is to figure out, how do you function best, and maybe try the waters in different ways to see, does less projects and more zeroed in focus work better for me? Does that make me feel more alive and like on purpose? Or do you need to add a few more things to the table to get that energy back?
This is so fabulous, this part of the conversation. I recognize that I'm like you. I have many projects on the, some of them that I don't even get to because it's so many things, but I actually like being a high functioner. It's something that brings energy and excitement and keeps me going. But I also have to balance it out with that spaciousness and self-care time. So I know this about myself. Like, I'm a hot spring goer. I love the like cold hot thing. and sweating in the sauna. So I own a sauna for that reason. And I own a soft tub. And so I actually, to complete my loop, instead of craving the need to go to the hot springs, I have a DIY project in my backyard right now, which is I'm building a cold plunge. So
Nice.
it's exciting. And that was me honoring my entrepreneurial journey and my self-care of what I really need to keep me finally attuned so I can serve at the highest capacity, because I have clients and I want to serve deeply. And so in order to give that spaciousness and capacity to be able to really be in that place of just like give my all, I also have to fine tune myself to do that. And with my own practices balanced with a family life and the projects I got going on, I'm like literally spinning many plates. And so it's good. I'm high functioning.
Yeah. And that would be wildly overwhelming to other people, to certain people. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, recognizing that feels full and enlivening for you is really, really powerful. And there's nothing wrong with being someone who wants to do one thing at a time.
Absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And I love your invitation as an entrepreneur to explore where is the sweet spot. Is
Yeah.
it one project? Is it 5? Is
Yeah.
it like where's the sweet spot for you? And I think that's a really, and it's also goes with like client load. What's the sweet spot? Like, where do you resonate deeply? Where does it like feel like, this is it, versus like, oh no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. Some people want to do just one-on-one services and don't want to get into group program work, and that is fine. Some people only want to do group program work and don't want any single session one-on-ones, and that is fine too. I like having all of them, but that's how I function.
Tell us about the journey of what it's like to be an entrepreneur, to go from one-on-ones to serving. I mean, that group, I'm doing it, but
Yeah.
it just, the journey of that, and like how does it land when your group really starts humming, and you've launched many times, and I'm in my second time around this time, so it's just starting. And
It's really fun. I think for somebody who wants to be at the front of the room or facilitating the energy of a group, there is nothing more fun than that. There's nothing more fun than having a whole group of people who are engaged in the same conversation, who are working on the same things and excited to be there. And my favorite part about it is that once you get a group like that together, when they're there and they're showing up, it's not even about me facilitating anymore. They're supporting each other. And that is
Totally.
like the most satisfying thing to witness, that you created a space that then breeds like best friends and like deep community, them with each other. And it's not even about you anymore.
Yeah.
That's like really, really fun and satisfying to know that you helped make a space where that could happen. But yeah, I love it. I love working one-on-one with my clients. I love seeing the pieces of the puzzle of their businesses come into place. I love seeing the pieces of the puzzle of their inner world sync up and line up so that the thing they're creating is easier, or the thing they're creating gets more traction and momentum because they've gotten out of the way of it happening.
Mhm.
And to do that in group settings where we're all witnessing it in each other. There's something really powerful about having a shift. There's something more powerful about having that shift witnessed by someone else. And that's only magnified when it's done in a group setting, that more people are seeing it and acknowledging it in you. It becomes harder to deny that truth in you and acknowledge that in yourself when many other people are witnessing it. So, yeah, it's really fun. The launching process, I mean, the main big program that I launch is my 6-month program, Magnetic Influencer Collective, which we abbreviate to call MAGIC. And it's a really solid mix of inner work and transformational growth with business strategies and showing up and automating and mastering your marketing as much as possible. But I've been running that for 4 or 5 years now at this point. So the launch process of that is pretty dialed in and fun. It doesn't feel scary knowing that launch is coming up. I don't feel overwhelmed with the pieces of the puzzle. They're all pretty much there, and I just enhance them or add to them each time. So yeah, it gets easier. There's a lot of setup at the beginning to create a project like that. And then the more you're willing to rinse and repeat and get feedback and improve, the easier it gets over time to just have those things running and to put them on your calendar and be like, that's happening. I've got that. Or let me plan, when the emails are going to go out beforehand or how I want to show up for it this time.
Mhm.
Yeah. It gets easier.
It does get easier. Like, I as an entrepreneur, I had to learn the really challenging thing of listening to someone else around, give me a piece of advice saying like, oh, this program will work better for you than what you have. And so I had Kajabi in the beginning, and then I switched to FG Funnels, and then it was a hot mess. I couldn't like navigate it on the back end as easy as I could Kajabi. So I just switched back to Kajabi, and it was like, holy moly, what a freaking nightmare of a journey, like having to do a launch and then like put it all back in. Like, so I'm finally landed in the functioning zone. I won't have to recreate all these things. It's like in there now. And like next time around, it won't be that way. It's like, man,
yeah.
What a journey.
I'm glad you moved back. Yeah, I know that was a clunky
choice.
and hard thing to deal with for a while there.
I had to give myself a lot of praise and love and be like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You made that choice. It's not wrong or bad, but now that this platform works better for you. And it's just like these things you don't realize until you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm helping a client right now move from like 6 different programs to 6 new ones that she thinks will work better. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to dial this in and see how many of these puzzle pieces we can have talk to each other automatically so that none of your team has to be doing that part. And it's like a wild mess that's slowly but surely getting like clicked into place. And that's really fun for me. The way my brain works, for some reason, seeing pieces of the puzzle click into place like that is like really, really satisfying. So
I totally get that.
Yeah, I know that overwhelmed feeling. I see it in my clients every day, and it doesn't have to be that way. It can be streamlined. It can be easier. And part of that for an entrepreneur who's running a business like we are, part of that is figuring out what's the software that's going to work best for me to do the things I want to do, for sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Tell us more about I know you have like an amazing app. Like tell us about that.
Oh yeah. One of the many projects I've been working on this year is the Wild Hearts Rise Up app. So, like I said, I work with coaches and holistic practitioners and healers, people who trade in wisdom and guidance, and they're great at what they do, but they're often either stopping themselves from doing it because they have some story or limitation internally that says they can't or they shouldn't or they probably won't. So I do a lot of guided meditations, hypnotherapy sessions, inner work to unleash and unravel those stories that say you shouldn't. And also I work with people on the actual business strategies. How do you want to show up? What tools can we implement? What could make marketing your business as a healer or as a leader that much easier? And over the years, I've created lots of resources, from templates and video walkthroughs to actual guided meditations and things like that. So the app has a lot of stuff in it. It's free for the first month, and then it's $5 after that. It's called Wild Hearts Rise Up. And people are loving it. There's also a community platform so you can get to know other people who are in the same boat and working on the same kinds of projects and have a little dialogue there, or celebrate your wins if you create something and have people cheering you on. But it's really fun. It's on I think Google Play Store is what it's called, and the iPhone App Store. And it's called Wild Hearts Rise Up. So if anybody out there has been enjoying this conversation and wants to check it out, I would love, love, love your feedback in there, and also to get to know you in the community platform aspect.
Ooh, yeah. I just don't know. I'm looking.
You got it. Awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there. I know it can be kind of confusing. I'd like encourage people to use it like as a game of, what do I need to get turned on or inspired right now? What would actually help me right now? Because there's like a laundry list of a lot of different things. There's business strategy, there's content creation stuff, there's money mindset stuff, there's energy magic stuff. So it's like, if you're feeling uninspired or stuck in your business, open the app, and say, magic 8 ball, show me which of these I should open right now, and use it like a little divination deck for business inspiration.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to check it out a little later.
Cool. Thanks for downloading it.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool that you have an app. I just think that's such an amazing thing. Congratulations.
Thanks. It was pretty fun to make it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really get that you just love the creation phase of everything. Like, it just lights you up, and that's such a joy to see.
Yeah, it's fun. I like making stuff. I know. I think it's nice to know what you like too. I think it's important for people to figure out what it is that you like. Get a hobby or try something you haven't tried before. See if it's fun. Yeah.
Allowing joy to be a part of your journey and your business is key ingredient to having a happy everything.
In life too. If you're working in the corporate world, knowing what lights you up and makes you happy and brings you fun is super important too. I think being in question about what sets my soul on fire is something everyone should be asking.
And then one way to look at that is through the things that you hate.
Yeah, not this. Okay, what else is possible?
Yes.
Miserable. Like, there's got to be something else, and actively like choosing to take the effort to look for what was the thing? Follow your bliss. I mean, that looked like very different to me 10 years ago than it does now, but it's like, oh, something that really serves my heart, right? So what is the things, even if you have a job that you dislike, or that there's parts of your business like editing TikTok videos. I don't like that because I'm like, why am I doing this? All of these filters, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, what do I like about this? I like putting on the Auntie Trish wig, and I like being sassy. And Roy goes, I like doing the editing, and I'm like, great. Now, and it's like finding the things that really can create the inspiration. So for me, just so you all know, like you don't know, having connection pieces or collaboration is something that really drives my creative expression or drives my inspiration. That as much as I love doing things on my own, I love having a teammate. I love having someone who will like call me up and complain about like the whatever thing is whatever, or things that we can talk about, or things that we can check each other on. Like that actually, that's the sad part for me about being an entrepreneur, is that there's not more communities, unless you're working with Molly, apparently. Communities,
they exist, yeah.
To do your own thing within community. And I think that's also very important. Like, we live in a hyper independent, individualistic society in the U.S. specifically, and a lot of the world, and that we are community or tribal beings. That we forget that we actually need to be around other people to foster creativity, to be inspired by other people, or to be repulsed by other things, to use that repulsion and be like, oh, I want to create something like, to use that.
Totally.
Community, Molly.
Yeah. Thank you for being part of my community too.
Thank you for being so pivotal in our businesses. Like, you've hands down been such a huge help for both of us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a treat to get to work with both of you. Thank you for choosing to trust me with that.
Of course. I met you so long ago, and it was like, I knew when I met you, I was like, I'm keeping that woman in my corner. Like,
yeah,
I felt that vibe.
And then we ran into each other at the grocery store at like 7:30 p.m. on a Monday in Sebastopol or Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something happening here. Okay, let's work together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both.
Anything else that you'd like to share, just to make sure that we covered all of your all of your awesome
Yeah,
guests.
I mean, if you want to follow my, daily inspiration or travels, Instagram wild_1_rising is the best place to follow the day-to-day trying to inspire the masses kind of thing. And then, yeah, I've got a monthly membership if you want a low stakes way to dive into being in community with your business. That's called the Copywriting Cohort. And 2 podcasts. Tactical Magic is for spiritual women entrepreneurs. It vacillates between healing, transformational strategies to also business strategies. And then my other show, Reveal the Game of Life, is really just talking about consciousness and how to bring more winning to the game of life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you just say the Instagram bit again?
Yeah, wild_1_rising.
Yeah.
Put it in the chat here for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You guys have some awesome stuff coming up too, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'll share. So August 15th through the 18th, I'm actually in a challenge right now, which is called the Sovereign Queen Challenge. I'm launching one right now. And I'm also hosting a new one on September 12th through the 15th. So I'll say that again. I'm launching the Sovereign Queen, beautiful experience. It's an activation and it's also a challenge from September 12th through the 15th of 2023. And if you are a beautiful woman that's experiencing struggle in your partnership, have you been married for a long time? Have you been in longstanding partnerships and experienced patterning in your relationships that you know is yours and that you just can't get through it or over it and you can't get a new outcome that you're looking for in your relationship, or you're seeking to really remove the barriers that are between you because you know the love is there, but you just feel maybe complacent or not able to receive the love that you really desire. And so this is an opportunity to come home to greater levels of trust within yourself, peel back the layers of what's really underneath your patterning and what's going on. And so the challenge is an opportunity for you to come home to you and get a greater insight into why patterns exist in the first place in relationships, understanding age stage healing, and really what spiritual curriculum exists and how it happens through our age stages of our life. And there's so many more juicy tidbits that are going to be given in the challenge, prizes daily, and one grand prize at the end of the 4 days. So it's free. It's a 4-day offering to really come home to the heart of you, gorgeous queen. And are you ready to embody your love? Are you ready to embody your trust? Are you ready to experience greater levels of self-love? Are you ready to really create the upgrade you're asking for in your love life, in your relationship? Are you ready to have the love life of your dreams happen? And it can happen in the relationship you have now. You don't have to leave the relationship to make the change. You can create a role reversal in your marriage if you need, but it's coming home to where the difficulty lives and really investigating it and coming home to those parts of yourself that you're ready to overcome, understand, and love deeply. And so I created a game-changing situation in my marriage. It hands down healed the rejection pattern for good in my life. And what I'm giving you is an opportunity to really experience this full time in your own love life. So join me. It's September 12th through the 15th. Can't wait to have you. So excited. So the link is basically in this opportunity. Click the link and you'll just enjoy yourself. So blessings.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so much juice here. I love it. Molly, Dom, thank you so much for your time and your attention and your friendship over the last few years. Like, thank you for being inspirations to me and teaching me things that you know. You both have given me so much love. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. I feel the same way. Like, my business wouldn't be here today, Molly, if you hadn't helped in the way you did, like through the last launch. And Trish, I mean, gosh, like every day we're like, you're my bestie. I'm so appreciative of just the way you love me so deeply and give me permission to just love myself so much through all the things of life. And thank you, Molly, again, for being present on the show. It means the world to us to share your gift out into the world.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for bringing conversations like this to the world. And also, I know you both on a personal level, and I can say with like full certainty the work that you both are bringing to the world and the like covert missions that you're on behind that is like seriously important and valuable, and your people are so lucky to have you going to bat for them and showing up in those businesses. So thank you for being those people in the world, both of you.
Thank you for saying that. It brings tears to my eyes. I know.
Love it. Well, I would like to say thank you to our team, Roy and Russell, the Self Love Show team, who makes all this possible every day, every week. So you see their work on all the flyers. You see their work as the show is showing up. You see their work on all of the graphics, all of the things, our Instagram, my Instagram, Don's Instagram. You see their love and support, and they're both just wildly beautiful people, a brother and sister team. So thank you, Roy, for your love and you care for the Love Show. They always tell me, they're like, I love this Love Show. It's like, it's helping me. I listen because they listen to the show so that it will be, they make it radio ready. So they cut out all the pieces that we can't have on radio. They make sure that all the cursing, which apparently Molly and I have going on for us,
Sorry.
all that, so that it's radio ready. And they put it on KPFC, 88.1 out of Lakeport in Lake County. So thank you to KPFC for sharing us out to our local communities. To Scott Katamas, Love Coach Academy, Global Peace Tribe, and Sign Network for just being full support and love. And thank you all for showing up every week for yourselves and for us. So we'll see you same time, same place next week.